Whenever a new technology shows up, it kind of follows this predictable script, right? First, there's confusion, then a whole lot of fear, and then eventually we figure it out. So today, we're going to dive into the story of how generative AI basically crashed the classroom party and how some really smart educators decided not to kick it out, but instead to teach it how to dance. Okay, let's just rewind the clock to late 2022. ChatGPT gets unleashed on the world, and almost overnight, the entire world of higher education is thrown into a complete panic. And the central fear, the big one, that students would just use this crazy new tool to cheat their way to a degree. So the question is, was all that panic justified? Well, the reaction was swift, and it was severe. By early 2023, you had these huge, prestigious universities like Oxford and Cambridge outright banning the use of ChatGPT. The worry was about this new wave of undetectable plagiarism. Some people were calling it AI-gerism, that would just make academic integrity totally impossible to enforce. It really felt like the walls were closing in. And look, this wasn't just some high-level policy debate. For students on the ground, the message they were getting was loud, clear, and honestly pretty terrifying. A lot of them, like the student quoted right here, felt that just touching these tools could get them kicked out of school. That fear was real, and it had a very human cost. But, in the middle of all that chaos, some educators started asking a different question. Instead of just building taller and taller walls, what if we taught students how to open the door responsibly? What if we started treating AI not like this big, scary threat, but as, a tool? And that question brings us to a really groundbreaking study from a pathway college up in Scotland. A group of educators there who specialize in English for academic purposes, well, they saw the writing on the wall. They knew AI wasn't going away. So they decided to take this crisis and turn it into a curriculum. And they called their solution AIAP, which stands for AI for Academic Purposes. The core idea? It was so simple, but at the time, it was revolutionary. Instead of banning AI, they said, let's teach AI literacy directly. Let's build the skills students actually need to use these things effectively and, just as importantly, ethically. The whole goal was empowerment, not restriction. So what does that actually look like in a classroom? How do you do it? Well, the researchers built their entire framework on 5 key pillars. Think of it like a step-by-step guide to move students from being just kind of AI curious to being truly AI competent. Okay, here's how it breaks down. Step 1, you've got to learn the language. What's an LLM? What is generative AI? All that basic stuff. Step 2, you look under the hood. You have to understand how it works, and even more importantly, what its limitations are. Step 3, and this one is huge, you master the art of the ask. We're talking prompt engineering. 4, you get to know the different tools out there for different jobs. And finally, step 5, you wrap all of that knowledge in a deep understanding of ethics and when it's appropriate to use it. And this right here is the power of step 3 in action. I mean, look at the difference. Asking an AI to write about climate change, you're just going to get a generic, pretty useless wall of text. But look at the effective prompt. You give it a role, a context, a really specific task, and a target audience. Wow, that is how you turn a gimmick into a genuinely powerful research assistant. So that's the framework. The big question is, how did it hold up in the real world? Well, the researchers put it to the test in a 10-week module. Let's take a look at what happened. The study group was made up of 39 international students from 22 different countries. Now, before the module started, a lot of them had basically no experience with academic AI tools, beyond just kind of knowing that ChatGPT existed. They were the perfect test case. The results were, honestly, they were staggering. This chart here shows student confidence using a specific AI research tool called Elicit. Before the module, their confidence was practically 0. After, whoosh, it shot up dramatically. And it wasn't just for this one tool. The data showed huge, statistically significant gains pretty much across the board. But this whole transformation, it wasn't just about technical skills. It was psychological. A student named Nock, she captured this perfectly. She went from seeing AI through this lens of stigma, plagiarism, cheating, being a bad person, to understanding it as a positive tool that could actually be used for good. And that brand new understanding, it led to brand new behaviors. Before the module, students were pretty much just using AI for basic stuff like checking grammar. Afterwards, they were using it for this whole range of complex academic tasks, brainstorming ideas, finding sources, even creating their own practice questions to revise for exams. The toolkit just exploded. Now, this is maybe the most crucial takeaway. Teaching students how to use AI didn't lead to more cheating. No, it led to a huge jump in their confidence to use it ethically. They got so much better at drawing that line between what's okay and what's not okay, because that line was finally being talked about openly in the classroom. But maybe the most powerful finding of all, and one that just flies in the face of all that initial panic, is this. The program didn't just make students better AI users, it actually made them better thinkers. This quote from Jiwan, a nursing student, it just says everything. She went from blindly trusting whatever the AI spit out to actively controlling and steering it. By learning its limitations and its biases, she was empowered to critically evaluate what it was telling her and use it as a real partner in her learning, not some magic answer box. And that right there, that shift in thinking, is why this single study from Scotland offers such a powerful blueprint for the future of education. It completely reframes the entire debate. So what are the big takeaways here? Well, first, fear and bans, they just don't work. Second, structured, direct education in AI literacy, it absolutely does work. Third, this whole approach doesn't just prevent misuse, it actually enhances the critical thinking skills we want all our students to have. And finally, the AIAP framework shows us that empowerment is the real path to responsible, effective, and ethical use of technology. Which leaves us with one last critical question. The debate really isn't about whether we should let AI into our schools anymore. It's here. It's in the building. The real challenge now is figuring out how we teach not just students, but all of us, how to wield this incredibly powerful new tool with the wisdom and the integrity we need for the classroom, for the workplace, and for everything that comes next.